Okay, perfect. Thank you for the introduction, and hello, everyone. And thanks for joining us here today. I'm Kannappan, and I'm a product marketing director at Neustar. Um, a little bit of background on Neustar. Neustar really partners with some of the largest brands in the world to help them understand their customers better, orchestrate their journey across multiple channels, and optimize their marketing investments. And doing this all in a privacy-friendly way. I'm really excited to join this conversation today with Chris Martinelli, and I'm going to have Chris introduce himself and tell us a little bit more about what he does day to day at Hugo Boss.
Yeah, thank you, Uma. So I'm the Vice President of Marketing Communications for North America for Hugo Boss Fashions Inc., parent company to Hugo Boss AG, which is our global brand. Overseeing all of North America in terms of marketing related activities, retail, wholesale, digital, e-commerce, performance marketing, as well as CRM. And then on the other flip side, also overseeing all of the PR, public relations, communications, celebrity events, influencer marketing, everything, pretty much everything in the kitchen sink.
Yeah, you have a lot on your plate, Chris. So I think it's a perfect segue to kick off our conversation. When we talk about purpose-driven marketing, we always hear the term "doing well while doing good," and it seems like an easy win, right? But yet many companies struggle to execute against this. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think purposeful driven marketing, is taking on a new definition right now in the last 12 to 16 months and what we've kind of seen. And I also think that, it's important to understand your customer, right? And to understand the needs of your customer. And I think, there are some brands that do that really well. And I think there are some brands that, um, don't really put themselves in the eye of the customer or in the shoes of the customer. And I think in order, especially in this day and age, I think in order to really be authentic as a brand, you have to really do it religiously. You can't just pick up and say, hey, I'm gonna go and now do something or post something about equality and then not put any weight behind it, not put any time or effort or marketing or financial budgets behind those types of things. There's more to that these days than just stating something, right? Than actually doing. And I think that's what some
So
brands do.
yeah, and so what brands do you think are doing this purpose-driven marketing well, and how?
Well, I'd like to say Hugo Boss is doing it well, right? As a global brand, I feel like we're very strong in terms of standing really behind what we position ourselves as, right? I think sustainability for our brand is huge, and we really stand behind it from a global perspective, not only in our corporate offices, but in the products that we make. We've put out products that are, made by special cotton, and we've made sneakers out of pineapple skins. We do a lot in terms of sustainability in regards to our offices and our general kind of day to day and what we do. But I think overall too, I think there's some other really good brands that do it well as well. I'd point out one, which as well as Gucci. I think Gucci really kind of, puts a lot of great marketing messages out there and then, turns around and stands behind it. Similar to us, we just hired, a person to really kind of drive our sustainability program. We also hired someone to really kind of drive our equality programming and communications as a brand. And, I think Gucci is another brand that does it really well.
So, and I think, especially since you mentioned sustainability, which I think has become a lot more important for consumers, but consumers' expectations of brands has also evolved since COVID. Um, what do you feel those changed expectations are, and how is Hugo Boss delivering against that?
Um, I go back to really the authenticity of a brand, and especially during the times of
Hmm.
COVID. I think you had to be smart about how you spoke to the customer. Many people reacted to the pandemic in a very different way. You had very loyal customers, VIP customers who religiously came to our stores, shopped Hugo Boss. And, when the pandemic hit, really were, not comfortable going out in society, not comfortable going out to stores, even when we were open. We were shut for some time, like everybody else, but even when we reopened, I think the way we spoke to our customer and the way that we communicated to them through our email newsletters, through our database, through our programming, really was an emotional connection. We tried to be emotionally connected to them. We set up virtual appointments. We set up things that when stores were open, you could go shop online with an associate. You would then your package could get shipped directly to you. You could drive up to the store or the mall, wait in your car, and the associate would bring it out to you and flip open your trunk. We just tried to really diversify ourselves and make everything for the customer that much easier to shop, right? Or to be involved in what we were doing as a brand, with a sense of comfortability around it.
Yeah, and I think if I could tease out what you just said, a lot of it's about building that relationship with your audience, with your consumers. Um, so I think there's really this big aspect of building relationships and keeping your customers happy, keeping them engaged. What other consumer and retail trends should fashion brands lean into this year, especially to continue to build that relationship, which I think has become even more important for consumers during the pandemic?
Yeah, again, I still think there's a large contingent of consumers and customers that are still hesitant to be out and about. So I think as a brand and what we're doing at Hugo Boss is really focusing on providing our customer all different aspects of shopping, right? You come into our
Mhm.
store, we have limited capacity. We offer masks if you don't have one. We have sanitation stations. All of our associates are wearing masks. We have the opportunity, again, we are still keeping the virtual appointment opportunity available to our customer. We have other kind of incentives around what we're doing in terms of some of the giving back, right? We're still providing percentages of our sales to the pandemic, to other associations. We're really trying to work as a brand in an area where everyone is very conscious of what's going on in the public, and within our culture. And so to be able to continue to evolve the virtual appointment situation, keep people comfortable while they're in store and still shopping, offer, availability on our online shop, and like I said, in some instances, still giving back to the community with percentage of sales. So we're really trying to drive this authentic messaging that we started, 14 months ago or 12 months ago in March, and continuing that even though we are, what I would like to see, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I think the country is doing a very good job of everyone stepping up and doing their part to kind of put this pandemic at a low grade rate, with whether it's vaccinations, herd immunities, or just being careful and safe. And I think, we are as a country starting to see what could the next 6 months look like as we start to get out of this. But it doesn't mean that as a brand, we should stop doing what we were doing 12 months ago and through the pandemic. We should grow it, we should build on it, and we should continue to offer those things to our customer, regardless of where we are with the pandemic.
Can you hear me now, Chris?
Yep.
Sorry, I wanted to mute for a second.
Okay.
To continue that conversation, you've had an incredible career so far, and I think you've done a lot of great things with strong roots in fashion. And as you shared with me previously, you even worked on the Equinox brand prior to Hugo Boss. Can you tell us a bit about your journey and some things that have stuck with you throughout your career?
Yeah, I started my career about almost 25 years ago, and really uh, was at a PR agency. And I think my love of communications and dealing with the public and really started there. And public relations is where I kind of grounded my roots in the fashion world. And I worked for Tommy Hilfiger when he was still at the helm of his brand. He still owned it. It was a great
Hmm.
experience. And then from there, went on to work for a Italian fashion luxury brand in Dolce and Gabbana. And for me, it was very interesting to see how the international brand and international fashion world really worked, and to get that experience was amazing. And then the opportunity to go to Calvin Klein. What I would say, obviously up there with Hugo Boss and Calvin Klein and Ralph Lauren and Tommy, these globally known, world-renowned brands. Was a great opportunity. Calvin, we did some amazing things, and they have such great heritage there. But I think life and children took over a little bit as I moved along in my career, and I got the opportunity to go to Equinox. And the shift in going from fashion to fitness was an interesting one. I did take it because I felt like I needed a little bit better work-life balance. The fashion world is amazing. I love it. It's in my DNA, hence why I'm back. But I think the fitness world is another passion of mine. It was an interesting, because the brand is more than just fitness. It's about a lifestyle. And they wanted
Hmm.
to really bring together the entertainment and the fashion and the talent world, and bring that to Equinox, and really kind of market and message, that it's not fitness, it's life. And for me, now coming over to Hugo Boss over the last, I'd say 3 years, going on 4, the learnings along my journey have really been pretty strong, in terms of the way I've viewed work and the way I view life. And for me, it's all about being authentic.
Hmm.
I've always thought, and I've always taught and teach my kids now, and I tell my team all the time, be transparent, be honest, be open, um, and people will respect you for it. And, for me, that's the tack that I've taken in my career, and things that I've learned along the way. And I also and now take that tact in my marketing strategies and my marketing plans. Um, be honest, be authentic, and be true to who you are. There's a lot of brands out there who do a lot of things that aren't. And the customer today, and the consumer, and the general public, they know, they're smart, they're smart people. And I would
Hmm.
say 10 years ago, I think a lot of brands didn't really treat people that way. You know, um, just for instance, you have, let's just say you have a world-renowned athlete who is, doing a, McDonald's commercial. Well, we all know that that athlete is probably not eating McDonald's every day. But, I think, there's something to be said about just, continuing, my life lessons, and the way I've approached my career, and putting that to play with how I approach marketing to the consumer, to the general public. And that's really what I've taken away as I continue on my journey. I will continue to do that. I will continue to put forth marketing plans and marketing strategies that are authentic, build relationships with talent and athletes and entertainers that are, genuine, and, that aren't just about, a paycheck, and really work with people who love our brand and want to be a part of the Hugo Boss brand, and, not just somebody that wants to sign a contract and get paid and then move along their way. So for me, it goes back to purposeful marketing, right? Being,
Mhm.
having a purpose in your marketing. And then that's something that I think I've taken along the way, and why I was so interested to join this chat today, because it's really the way I do my business.
Yeah, and that's great. And that actually brings up a good question. Hugo Boss is continuing to successfully expand internationally. You have an online presence. I think you're launching 12 new international locations this year. And how do you really? I think you made some good points that brands have to stay authentic and relatable in a way that makes sense to their consumers. And how does your e-commerce presence, and as you're expanding internationally, how do you stay culturally relevant and socially relevant in all those locations?
It's not easy. Each location, in each country that we launch, there's a different attitude, there's a different language, there's a different culture. Most
Mm-hmm.
recently, just in 2000, actually during the pandemic, in August and September of 2020, we launched Canada and Mexico's e-commerce sites. And we did that through our US hub. And for us, it was being quick to adjust to the Latin American way of life and the language, and how they shop, and you think about things all the way down to their geographic, like the weather, right? Like, it's how you market.
Mm-hmm.
They live in a hot climate area, and then you have the complete polar opposite in Canada, where we have to work around multiple languages, right? Because you go from Ontario, Vancouver, down to Toronto, and across that way, we have to redo our e-commerce pages in multiple languages. We have to think warm weather, cold weather. So for us, I think, it's just about adjusting to each individual market, understanding that market, doing our due diligence and the research in those markets. And again, making sure that we are being true to who we're speaking to. And when you go to those hub pages in those countries where we're launching, you'll feel like it's a part of your culture. You feel like we're speaking to you, and that's key in us coming across when we launch these markets.
And I think that kind of tees up a good question. So because obviously there's a big need in personalization to use the right technology and platforms to enable that personalized conversation with your consumers, regardless of where they are and the best moments to reach them. Are there some specific technology or platforms that you found have been really helpful in that personalization?
I wouldn't say overall like technologies that, I mean, when we look at personalization very strongly, all the way down to, you go to some of our stores right now. We launched a collaboration with Russell Athletics, and we have
Mm-hmm.
personalization stations in some of the stores. So you can take some merchandise, you can personalize it with your name, your initials. I just think it brings the customer, it gives the customer a little bit more feeling of ownership, of feeling like they created something with you, knowing they did actually create something with you, and something that's personal to them. We've seen
Mm-hmm.
great success in personalization. Um, and to the point of where we've offered it now for a few years in a lot of the capsules and a lot of the collections that we produce. And we also find that, really engaging pop-up shops have kind of made their turn around again, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was 5-10 years ago, pop-up shops were kind of coming up everywhere. But now we're finding that with the pandemic, in bigger areas like malls or big outlets, shopping centers, that sometimes putting a pop-up in the middle of a mall, having our associates there, having some engaging, interesting things to do while they're in the pop-up. We recently had launched a collaboration with the NBA as well in the beginning of this year. And we did pop-ups in some of our key locations, and we had little pop-up shots there. We had some personalization, we had a DJ, and it really helped drive that customer awareness and brand equity, and it was great. I mean, we saw all different age groups and diversity and different, all the way, we had groups of teenagers and, older adults. I mean, it was a really interesting learning to see, people want to have an experience, right? We talk about that, a few years ago, I think, people were picking experiences over money, buying clothes or spending money on cars. People wanted to just take trips and go away and experience things. I think as a brand, what we try to do now is not only give people quality product at the right price, but we give them an experience with it. And it really helps drive that consumer awareness and that brand loyalty that we, as all of us, crave, as we work for our companies.
That's a great segue to this question, Chris. So then, how do you determine what success looks like for you and for Hugo Boss? Because you're doing so many things and you're engaging with customers on so many fronts. What does really success look like for you?
Success, for me, we can always measure success, right? And we all do as brands. We have CRM, we have data. Does it grow? Does it get bigger? Do we have more people? Are our sales increasing? Do we have the KPIs? But I think all of those things absolutely are used to measure success. But I also think for me, and as we move forward as a brand, we're driving a casualization image, right? A lifestyle image of Hugo Boss. Many people know us for suits, right? You think Hugo Boss, you think suits. We offer so much more than just suits. We offer suits, we offer formal wear, we offer amazing sportswear, casual wear, athleisure. And I think as a brand, for us, when we look at all of those categories and all the collaborations that we do, I think the biggest measure of success is one, obviously the sell-through, but two, like I said, we really measuring our success. Are we targeting a new customer? Are we targeting a younger, more diverse customer? Because that's very important for our brand. And so we also keeping our loyal customers and continuing to drive business with them. And so I think a little CRM, a little data, sales is really our true measure, right? And I think the brand loyalty, the feedback that we get from our customers is highly important. We do a lot of our research yearly on the brand to judge the brand equity and brand loyalty. We do what we call social listening. So we go in and we analyze our social media channels, which are global. We don't have separate ones per country. So we're a very big social media channel company that we can review everything, and we look at comments and we look at people's reactions. And we try to take that and put that into learnings and to put that into our marketing messaging. We take a lot of feedback that we get online and we reach back out to customers and we answer their questions. So I think, those are the types of things that I think we kind of look back and say, was this campaign successful? Was this launch successful? Did we sell through, but did we gain more customers? Did we speak to the customer? And I think that's a lot of how we measure success these days.
So in light of that, Chris, what advice would you have for a brand who's looking to have that authentic, relatable, and real conversation with their customers? Because it almost seems like brands need to rethink and evaluate who they really are versus sort of the media portrayal of them and be true to their core, true to their roots. And I think it's a lot harder to do than it seems. And so I think Hugo Boss is taking a lot of the right steps, and you're taking a lot of the right steps to have that authentic conversation. So what would your advice be to brands in terms of like if they're looking to do the same, the steps that they would need to take?
I'm going to go back to saying, just make sure that the marketing and the communications that you're doing to the consumer and the public are true to your brand, right? Don't try to be other brands. Don't try to be who you're not. I go back to the word again, authentic, right? Be authentic. I mean, myself, you, our consumers, the public, they're smart. They can see through fakeness. They can see through things that, have no meaning, have no purpose. And you can lose customers that way. So my biggest advice is to make sure that you know who your customer is, you're speaking to that customer in an authentic and genuine way, and you continue to do that. You just don't say, okay, this month we're going to go ahead and support equality, and then next month just drop off the face of the earth and forget about it. Or we're going to support education or sustainability, but just do it for 1/4 of the year and then forget about it and never do it again. I think take a lot of pride in the marketing and that you do, and continue to do that as you move forward, and not just kind of have one-offs.
That's great advice. So can you share a positive outcome or opportunity you've seen emerge from the uncertainties we faced in 2020 and even sort of continuing into 2021?
Yeah, I think that, what we've seen in terms of some positivities, right, is our customer is being more open and honest with us. We've seen a lot of feedback via, whether it be on our online chats, social media, or even in store with associates. And we have, these weekly meetings where we discuss certain things in certain markets and stores. And I think we're just seeing the consumer care a lot more about where they're spending their money and how they're spending it. And I think as long as we continue to make sure that we're paying attention to that, and we're really paying attention to our customer, and not just putting clothes out there or campaigns out there that don't have any meaning or don't really kind of have any purpose, it's not worth it anymore, right? The customer sees through it. So just make sure that, I think, through all of this, keep listening to your customer, keep that authentic kind of touch points with them, whether it be online, directly in the store, or through your marketing materials, and you'll succeed, and the consumer will appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. I'm going to ask you a couple of fun questions. If there were, or at least what I think is fun. So if there was a Wayback Machine or a time machine to take you back to early in your career, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh boy. Enjoy the young part of my career a little bit more. I mean, I had some fun. The fashion industry was interesting. I mean, a lot of fashion shows. I remember the days, we would be in Bryant Park doing fashion shows, sitting, putting seat assignments on little stickets and no databases to work off of, faxing requests back and forth. So I think if I had to give myself a little bit of advice back then, it was probably enjoy it a little bit more, and not take it so seriously. But because sometimes you miss the fun in things when you're busy with work and life and family. So I would definitely have given myself a little advice to kind of enjoy things a little bit more.
And what are you dreaming about doing once the COVID-related restrictions are lifted fully?
Traveling again. Really, really traveling. We have some amazing colleagues in Germany in our HQ, and we would head over there twice a year for a couple of days for conferences. And it wasn't just the conferences, it was the camaraderie with your colleagues. It was kind of getting to know everybody a little bit more than just conference calls and Zooms. So I really, really am looking forward to the global travel aspect of my career that we miss so much now. Interesting enough, my last trip was Milan Fashion Week in February of 2020, and then I have not been back to Europe since. So looking forward to getting back to Europe.
That's the same for me too, Chris. I'm looking forward to traveling. A couple of more questions, and then I'm going to field some questions from the audience. You work at a fashion company, obviously, that's synonymous with modern luxury. What is the one go-to item in your closet?
Ooh, interesting. A blazer. I love a good blazer. My go-to outfit is a great pair of slim fit jeans with a blazer, whether it be with a polo shirt underneath it, a crew neck sweater, a sweatshirt, a t-shirt. You can go from work to night to all different types of occasions by just throwing on that blazer. So I have a lot of great staple blazers that I really love it, that are in my closet. And that's kind of like my go-to outside of, your everyday kind of casualness. You can always throw on a blazer and look dressed up.
And along the same lines, what's the one technology you can't live without that you reach for, every day?
Uh, I guess we'd have to say our phones. As much as I hate to, um, when you don't have it, you realize how much you miss it. So I would definitely have to say the phone is a tough one. I'm not a big watch guy. But I think the other aspect of maybe technology would be an iPad or something. But really, I think it comes down to the phone. I use my phone for work, for just leisure, for reading, for podcasts. So it would be something I would miss.
Thanks for the answers, Chris. Now I'm gonna take a look at some of the questions that the audience has submitted and ask you those questions. One of the questions is, when it comes to communicating with your consumers, how do you think about brand purpose, and how does it impact your approach to marketing? I think you answered a lot of this, but I didn't know if you had anything additional to add. That would be great.
Just repeat the beginning part again. I'm sorry.
When it comes to communicating with your consumers, how do you really think about brand purpose, and how does that impact your approach to marketing?
Um, like I said before, I think throughout my career, I've gravitated towards always being transparent, always being honest, always being authentic, because I think that it's going to get you a lot farther in life, right? So I think in the way of marketing, when I look at marketing and say to myself, does this have meaning? Does it help the consumer to understand our brand better? Um, I kind of look at those things before we dive right in and say, okay, let's go launch this capsule or capsule collection, or let's look at this kind of launch here, or this marketing launch. And I refer back to the MBA and the Russell Athletic, which was very recent for our brand, and both were driven very, very much in a strong strategy around identifying new customers, urban, suburban, different demographics, different target ages. And I think we did a really good job when we put those two campaigns out of doing that. And we thought about that going in, right? I always tell my team, before you hit send, read it twice, read it 3 times, right? Think about your plans of action. Think about what you want to do, and sleep on it, right? And get up the next day and say,
Mhm.
okay, does this have meaning? Are we speaking to our customer properly? And check yourself. And I think as long as you do those things, you'll be successful.
And I think a follow-up question to that from the audience is, how do you really measure brand purpose? Because there's a lot of legs, a lot of levers to it. And how do you, as Hugo Boss, measure that you're hitting your goals in terms of brand purpose?
I will use a reference of something that we did back in the pandemic around the April-May timeframe, where our online shop never shut down, thankfully, because our distribution center never shut down. But we were able to continue to communicate to the customer who was sitting at home, and we were all in lockdown. And we did a campaign called Everyday Heroes. And we put out a lot of marketing and newsletters and communications around, what it means to be an everyday hero, and who those everyday heroes are. And what we asked all of our customers to do, and existing, and hopefully we reached non-existing customers, through our communications and our marketing, was nominate who their hero is. And that hero then would get a $2,500 shopping spree to Hugo Boss. And I think the reaction that we saw from that and the incoming of nominations from people for their husband, for them, for their wife, for their friend who was a fireman, a cop, a nurse, a doctor, even the guys, even, the waste management guys who were still riding on the back of trucks picking up your garbage in the middle of a pandemic. We really made it broad, and we actually launched it for only 4 weeks, and we ended up extending it for 6. And we're looking to do that again. And I think the reaction that we saw from that, the incoming from customers who were so involved in that, we had a couple of really amazing guys who are friends of the brand who worked with us on that, who are, their talents. I'm not going to put names out there, but they're high profile guys who are on TV, who are ex-athletes, who supported that with us. And we also had some real life people, and we followed that up right over the Father's Day campaign. That was 3 families that were, 2 of them were doctors, another one was a firefighter, and they were real life people. We asked them to be in our Father's Day campaign. So again, I think the reactions that we saw from those 2 campaigns in the heart of the pandemic was a really amazing KPI in terms of that marketing material.
Yeah, that sounds great. But if you were also extending that beyond marketing to the organizational level, how do you define brand purpose at that level? How does it, Hugo Boss as a whole, get involved beyond the marketing aspects?
Yeah, we actually did, through that period of time, we did a percentage of proceeds of our sales during about the 3-month period to the American Red Cross. So not only did we drive these messages with, kind of giving back to the customer giving back to their own personal heroes, but then taking a percentage of all those sales and really giving back to the need of the pandemic and the American Red Cross. And we did a great partnership with them during that period. So for us, it was a 360 kind of all purposeful marketing campaign, and we saw great success with it.
Thank you, Chris. That was a great answer to wrap up, and Ariel's back. And thank you for your time today. And thank you, audience.
Hey, Ariel, thank you.
Well, for fostering such amazing, engaging conversations. We loved having you speak on our stage, and we hope you'll come back again.
Yes, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, everyone. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So with that, we will bring our next 2 speakers to the stage. We have another exciting session for you all. Please welcome Kathleen Murphy, the Director